All right, we're about to go on a quest together. And no, not for some hidden treasure chest, but for something way more valuable, a hidden piece of knowledge. You could call it the ultimate secret of the Bhagavad Gita. And this whole thing kicks off with a promise made thousands of years ago that is honestly just staggering.
And what a promise it is. In the text, you have the divine figure Krishna saying this to the warrior Arjuna. But just stop and think about that for a second. Imagine someone telling you, hey, I'm going to give you knowledge so complete, so total, that after this, there is literally nothing left for you to learn. We're talking about the end of the quest for knowledge itself. That's a pretty bold claim, right?
So that's the big question for us, isn't it? What kind of knowledge could possibly be so complete that it just ends the search? It sounds impossible, frankly, but the Gita insists it's real. And lucky for us, it leaves behind a trail of clues. So let's start following them.
Okay, so our first clue is all about just how rare this wisdom is. The Gita makes it really, really clear. This isn't some simple tip or life hack you can just pick up. No, it's framed as this incredible treasure that millions of people search for their entire lives, but only a tiny, tiny fraction ever actually find.
And the Gita really puts the odds into perspective for us. It says something like, out of thousands of people, maybe one even tries to achieve this perfection, and then out of thousands of those people, barely one actually gets it. So you do the math, and we're talking odds of like 1 in a million. So what on earth is this incredibly elusive secret?
Well, the next major clue starts to reveal the cosmic blueprint. The secret, according to the text, is all about understanding two fundamental aspects of reality. The idea is that literally everything in existence is built from just these two basic natures.
And the way it's explained is actually pretty brilliant, especially for our modern minds. On one side, you have what's called the lower nature, or prakriti. The easiest way to think about this is like the computer hardware of the universe, all the physical, tangible stuff you can touch and measure. But then on the other side, you have the higher nature, or purusha, and that's the software. It's the life force, the consciousness, the ghost in the machine that actually animates all that hardware and makes it do something.
The Gita then breaks this hardware down into 8 specific components. You've got the 5 physical elements you'd expect, right? Earth, water, fire, air, and this thing called ether, or akasha. But then, this is where it gets really mind-bending. It also includes the mind, our intellect, and even our very sense of I, our ego, as part of the material world. Think about that. Your thoughts, your ego, they're all considered part of the hardware, not the user.
So you might be asking, how do these two natures, the hardware and software, actually relate to each other? Well, the Gita gives us this absolutely beautiful metaphor. It says that the material world, all those 8 parts we just mentioned, they're like individual pearls on a necklace. But the higher nature, that life element, is the invisible thread that runs through every single pearl holding them all together, giving them form, giving them existence. You take away that thread, and the pearls are just a chaotic, scattered mess on the floor.
So if that's the blueprint for the entire cosmos, the Gita says, hey, guess what? It's also the blueprint for us. That same principle becomes a map for our own inner world. And what's really fascinating is to see how different traditions and philosophies have tried to draw that inner map over the centuries, and how that map has actually changed.
Okay, I know this looks incredibly complex. And yeah, the text isn't in English, but don't worry about that. Don't try to decipher every little word. The point here is the big picture. What you're looking at are 3 different maps of the soul. You've got an ancient one from Shankara's philosophy, and a more modern one from Rosicrucianism. The key thing to know isn't the specifics, but the pattern. They all build on that same core idea from the Gita, but they seem to add new layers, almost as if our spiritual makeup has evolved.
So let's just simplify all that. The key change, the key evolution you're seeing is a shift from a 7-part model of the human being to a 9-part one. The more modern map suggests that, on top of all our ancient spiritual parts, humanity has developed 3 new faculties: a sensory soul, an intellectual soul, and a consciousness soul. It's almost like our spiritual operating system has received a major upgrade over thousands of years.
So what's the staggering implication of this whole 9-part map? It's this. You aren't a single unified self. You're more like a committee.
You're a boardroom meeting of at least 9 distinct parts: your physical body, your mind, your emotions, and all these different layers of soul and spirit. And they're all sitting around the same table.
Okay, but if we're this complicated committee of 9 different parts, why do we feel like a single eye? Why can't we normally see all this inner complexity? Well, that brings us to the next big clue. The great obstacle, the veil that hides this truth from us. That veil is called Maya, and it's really important to understand what this means in this context. Maya isn't some evil trick or a mistake in the system. The Gita describes it as a divine, even sacred illusion. It's the very fabric of reality as we experience it, and it's woven from 3 fundamental qualities, or gunas. So our job isn't to destroy it, but to learn to see through it. So, what are these 3 forces that weave the fabric of Maya? They're called the gunas. First, you have sattva. That's all about purity, harmony, and clarity. Then there's rajas. That's passion, energy, and action. And finally, tamas, which is inertia, darkness, and inaction. The idea is that every single thing in the material world, right down to our moods and thoughts, is just a unique blend of these 3 cosmic ingredients.
And what does it actually feel like to be trapped in this web of Maya? Well, it means living in a constant state of duality. The Gita says that from the moment we're born, we're caught in this endless push and pull. It's the feeling of, oh, I like this, I want more of it, and, I hate that, get it away from me. This fundamental seesaw of attraction and aversion, of like and dislike, that's the engine of the illusion. It's what keeps us from seeing the unified reality that's just beneath the surface. Okay, so we've got our map of the self, and we know the big obstacle is getting caught in this duality. The question is, how do we actually get past it? Well, the Gita describes 4 different kinds of people who try to connect with the divine, but it makes a really important distinction, saying that one of these types is, well, vastly superior to the other.
All right, so here are the 4 types. First, you have the distressed. These are people who turn to a higher power because they're suffering and they want relief. Fair enough. Second, you have the inquisitive, the person who's searching for knowledge, asking the big questions. Third is the seeker of wealth, someone looking for worldly success or material gain. And then there's the 4th type, the wise.
And this right here is the profound, critical difference. The first 3 types, they're all seeking something. They're looking for relief, for knowledge, for wealth. They're all operating from a place of lack, a sense of, I don't have this, so I need to go get it. But the wise person, they operate from a totally different mindset. It's a complete flip. They aren't seeking wisdom because they start from the fundamental assumption that they already possess it. It's not a search, it's a state of being. You're not trying to fill a hole, you're acting from a place of already being whole.
And this brings us right to the climax of our entire quest. If you can actually adopt that mindset of the wise, if you start to see through the illusion of Maya, that push and pull, what is it that you finally see on the other side? What is the ultimate secret? This is it, the ultimate realization, the one the Gita says a soul might attain only after many, many lifetimes. It's this simple, powerful phrase, Vasudeva is everything. Now, Vasudeva is just another name for that ultimate divinity, for Krishna. So the secret, the grand prize at the end of the quest, it isn't some complex formula or a secret meditation technique. It is a total, complete, radical shift in your perception. It's when you finally see that the divine, that thread holding all the pearls together, isn't separate from the world. It is the world. It is everything you see, everything you touch, everything you experience.
And so, after all this, the ancient text leaves us with a deeply personal challenge. It leaves you with a challenge. If this philosophy is right, if you really are not one single self but a whole committee of at least 9 different parts, your body, your mind, your different souls, your spirit, then the most important question you can possibly ask yourself is this: who's running the meeting? Who is actually in charge? Which one of those 9 selves is making the decisions and leading your life right now? Because the answer to that question, well, that just might be the start of your real quest.